A small country known as the Israel, which has a small population about 93.6 lakhs, but the place where it is located is one of the most controversial area of the world. Since thousands of years, there have been the fights in this area. Now, this triggers many questions, including what prime reason for which they have been fighting from thousands of years. And every once in a while, whenever news comes from this part, we get to know names like Gaza Strip, Hamas, Temple Mount, West Bank. What exactly are these? And what is the prime reason that even after people from across the world united couldn't come to a solution for this conflict? A larger question is what exactly is Israel's strength which enables them to defeat all Arab nations altogether? Well, we will discuss them all things in details and will figure them out, but we must first have to know in depth story behind this. So let's begin. If we talk about the current situation, if you go to the west from the Pakistan, this is the country known as the Israel. Whatever area you are seeing highlighted in the yellow is Israel, and the grey color area is West Bank and Gaza Strip. This is the country known as Palestine. Palestine is in fact inside the Israel, and the place which is denoted by a star is Jerusalem. Jerusalem is the prime cause of the conflict between the Christians, Jews and Muslims that I would explain further in this video. All the things got started way back in 1047 BC. At that time this was known as the Kingdom of Israel. Jews lived here and they were ruled by the King Solomon. Capital of the Kingdom of Israel was Jerusalem, and in this Jerusalem only the king of the Solomon constructed the first temple of the Jews, which was named as the Temple Mount, and Jews used to worship regularly in this temple. After this, in years of 586 BC, Babylonian come and they demolished this first temple, and then the person who get this temple reconstructed. But after the reconstruction, the first temple is named as the second temple, and they come in the Roman Empire who demolished the second temple, and the only wall is left by this time. The Jews started their migration to Europe because Jews were being killed under the empire. These Jews who still existed, and in one such family, Jesus Christ was actually a Jew, as a Jesus Christ grew under the Roman Empire. He, instead of core teaching of the Jesus in the Jerusalem area, started his own teaching, which was away from Jesus' ideology and started getting recognized very quickly. But the Jesus never liked this, and this issue got so much escalated that Jesus in Jerusalem publicly crucified Jesus, resulting into this death. Now, due to all this, there were hype of the negative sentiments against Jews, and till today, Jews are the blamed for this. Chapter number 1: Importance of Jerusalem. By this particular point of time, everything was running fine in Roman Empire, but in the year 306, King Valerian passes away and his son Constantine the Great becomes Roman king. Constantine started liking Christianity a lot, and he becomes the first king to adopt the Christianity. By this conversion to Christianity started spreading in entire Rome. But as Jesus was killed by the Jews, hatred towards Jews also spread widely, and in this kingdom, Jews were very badly tortured and killed, which insults in Jews started migration all over the world to save themselves. Especially they started migration to Europe, mostly the place where Jews were crucified. Constantine the Great built the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, and this constructed Church of the Holy Sepulchre was approx 2 kilometers away from the area of the Temple Mount. Jews called it Temple Mount itself, but Muslims refer to it as the Haram ul Sharif. After this, in year 638 AD, after defeating the Roman Empire, comes the army of Umar. As of recent times, Jews and Muslims are fighting a lot, but in older times, Jews were comfortable along with Muslim kings because Muslims used to consider them similar as their religion had many similarities. When these Jews area falls in the hand of Arab armies, the area in the Jerusalem which Jews had their second temple, Dome of the Rock, constructed at some place. Also, Al-Aqsa Mosque is constructed. This happened because reached Jerusalem and he offered prayers there, and the place where he prayed, Al-Aqsa Mosque, is constructed, and from some place he puts his foot on a holy stone stepped into heaven. Dome of the Rock is constructed on the same very place. This on screen is Dome of the Rock, and this is at the Al-Aqsa Mosque, and this is the western wall, and this entire area is shown in is called the Temple Mount, but Jews and Muslims refer to as the Haram ul-Sharif. Al-Aqsa Mosque doesn't allow entry to non-Muslims, and Jews are allowed to worship on the western wall 2 kilometers from this area, and this area called as the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, and this area of around 37 acres, which is very important for Christians, Muslims, and Jews. Now you have understood the importance of Jerusalem. Chapter number 2, World War I. This is kept going and around year 1914, when First World War was about to start. Germany, Britain were against each other, and the Ottoman Empire, who has ruling over the kingdom of Jews, took the stand to support the Germany. Now Britain also need their own allies. The government officials of the Britain always assumed that Jews from the Russia and America, they could have an influence on the governments to support to a specific side. And due to all these things, Britain attempted to make Jews happy by supporting Zionists, which was in fact supporting the idea of giving the Israelis their own country. This was very strongly supported by the Britain, and then they even gave a declaration which is known as the Balfour Declaration, which started His Majesty government views with favor the establishment in Palestine of a national home for the Jewish people. Now in this World War, Britain, US, USSR were on the side who had the Jews support to, while on other side Germany was taking its hand along with the Ottoman Empire. In 1918, World War I ended and Britain wins, and the first thing they did was to remove the Ottoman Empire, who were ruling over all the Jews' kingdom, and they were removed and Britishers start ruling instead. As Jews supported Britishers very openly in the war, leading Britons to win. Everyone knew that Britons would give Jews a reward. What Britons wrote in Balfour Declaration was duly followed, and Jews who were in Europe were assisted to settle in Palestine area, which Jews originally resided were migrated back inside the Palestine. Population of Arab was significantly larger, including the Palestinians, but Jews started living in some areas. There were thought Jews used to live in the Palestine areas thousands of years ago, but when Jews were migrated back from over all the world, especially from Europe into Palestine's area, the Arab countries around Palestine never liked this migration, and they were opposing this largely. On the one side, the Jews from the Europe were coming back to Palestine, who were supported by the Britishers. On the other hand, organizations and Jews started funding them and using their funds. That was the case. Jews started purchasing land in Palestine in 1878. Ottoman census, the total population of Palestine's area was 0.47 million, of the which only 25,000 were Jews, all the rest were Arabs. But by the year of 1914, Jewish population becomes 85,000. Later, this figure was in hundreds of thousands who reached into the Palestine, which while the Britishers were telling that Arab they want peace. But on the other hand, they were sending Jews into Palestine. In 1922, a white paper belonging to Britishers came into light and it proved that they were deliberately doing so, which they was the own benefit, which it was actually a divide and rule strategy they were using. On multiple occasions, Arabs asked Britishers to limit the Jews' immigration, but it was never implemented. Between 1919 to 1923, thousands Jews came from the Eastern Europe. Between 1924 to 1926, approx 50,000 Jews come from Poland. Between 1933 to 1936, a total of 0.17 million Jews come to Palestine. Actually, the Jewish community had to return to Palestine as Hitler's rise was fast growing, and whatever countries were under his influence were killing Jesus in masses. People already blamed Jesus for his killing of Jesus Christ and considered Jews as anti-Christianity. And whatever countries were under his influence were killing Jews in masses. People already blamed Jesus for the killing of the Jesus Christ and considered Jews as anti-Christianity, and on the other hand, as Jews were money laundering for profit, which is not considered good in Christianity. Even church didn't allow this when Christians never did this. Such type of businesses, but Jews did. This made the common population of the Europe have hated towards Jews and led to robbery, discrimination, violence against Jews. With Jews who lived in the Europeans started taking away their properties forcefully. Even few they were not allowed in public places. And Nuremberg laws come in year 1935, which prohibited Jews to marry a non-Jew. Jews even lost their citizenships and they were moved to concentration camps. They were treated like a second-class citizen. In fact, at the time of World War II, a Holocaust happened where around 6 million Jews were killed. At this time, that would lead to way left for the Jews to return to Palestine, and they did reach Palestine in a rush, which made Jewish population even more than Arabs. Chapter number 3. World War II. In the year of 1939, Second World War got started and Arabs supported Hitler in Germany, while Jews put all their efforts together and supported Britain, US, USSR, who all were on one side. Jews had to do this as it was their chance to do this, to fight back against Hitler, and they got training which they were used in future. World War II ends and Germany loses. Millions of Jews got killed in this war. One thing was prominent about the Jews that they were never lost a battle because they always fought for retaining their existence. Most Arab countries attacked them in unity. Jews surprised the entire world. I will explain that in a video ahead. After World War II, all countries come together and form United Nations as UN. So the wars can be stopped to suppress possibilities of future wars in the world and solve problems with countries. But inside the UN, those people had more say who had won the world war, like Britain, US, USSR, and when the zeal Jews had supported the Britain, US, USSR and had put their lives at risk. The time had come for the Jews to get rewarded by the end of the World War. It was unexpected that the Jews would get back their country, and Britannians, to make this happen, gave the Balfour Declaration to UN in February 1947. Foreign Secretary of Britain Ernest said, "Now Palestine is outside the control of Britain. Matter of the shifting Jews back to the Palestine should be handled by UN themselves." UN formed a special committee and they visited Palestine. This committee had a member of the 11 countries, and this committee reported that Jews are only 1/3 of the population of Palestine and second-third population is the Arab, while only 6% of the total land is with Jews. And after this, UN committee gave an historic verdict. which started whatever area had lies in the Palestine where Palestinians, Jews, and Christians lived all has the Jerusalem, which was very significant importance for all three religions. The only solution possible is to create country Israel and should be given to Jews, and at the same place a country named Palestine should be formed and given to Palestinians, and the Jerusalem should not be given to anyone but should remain under the control of UN as United Nations. Whenever such a decision is proposed in UNA, all participating countries vote for it, and this voting helps in deciding whether this country proposal would get approval or not. So all the Arab countries voted against the proposal partition. So all the Arab countries voted against the proposal partition of the Palestinians, but even after this, the Palestinians did happen because all the other countries had voted to support this proposal partition, and this proposal gets approved, and in year of 1947 UN releases a map showing how the partition of the Palestine would looks like and what word would be the designant to whom. Just before the UNA had made their decision in year of 1946, this white paper you see on the map was Jews population, but the partition which UNA had approved was quite shocking because Israel even got that area where there were no population. This is official map which UNA had released as partition decision. Yellow part here denotes the Jerusalem which was under the partition which United Nations had done. Arabs were not all happy within it, but Jews were happy for getting Israel as their country. After this decision, Britishers who were ruling this area left, and the next day after Britishers left, the Arab countries which were Egypt, Syria, Jordan, Saudi Arabia, Lebanon, Yemen, Iraq, all of them started war against Israel, and everyone was under impression that with so many Arab countries attacking together and would easily win the war. But what actually that unexpected happened and Arab countries had to back off. But then Israel took more land than allocated to them by UN. And this backfired on Arab countries. Altogether, this was the land which UN allocated, but Jews after this war captured this entire area into Israel. In the year of 1950, Israel passes a law which was called as the Law of Return. This law started in any Jew residing anywhere around this world would get Israel citizenship, and they are free to come Israel whenever they want. This video is already made so long, so let's just finish this fastly. Chapter number 4. End of this story. The Israel-Palestine conflict is one of the world's most enduring conflicts, beginning in the mid of 20th century. Various attempts had made to resolve the conflict as a part of the Israel-Palestinian peace process, alongside others to resolve the broader Arab-Israel conflict. The conflict began over a dispute between the land and the border after the World War II, and the Holocaust. Jews seeking their own country were giving a large part of the Palestine. Already living in the area didn't accept this, so the two parties went to war in 1948. In 1967, after another war, Israel occupied the Palestinian area. According to a recent report by the UN, Middle East envoy, the conflict between the Israelis and Palestinians is against reaching a boiling point, with escalating the violence amid a stalled peace process. The situation on the ground remains tense, with a high level of violence in the occupied West Bank and Israel in recent months, resulting in grave suffering. This includes attacks against the civilians from the both sides, increased use of arms, and settlers related to violence.